Increase comes from a Greek word there which means to exist in abundance, to make, to increase. When I hear this word, I think of last year when we were up in Mullen, Nebraska with our youth group, and the high school kids went with me on the Dismal River, and the middle school kids went with Ben Kramer and Ken McVeigh on the Middle Loop River, and there were some other adults with them as well. Well, there was a bad thunderstorm that moved through north of Mullen, and it missed us on the Dismal. In fact, I saw these clouds moving in, and so I pulled over there at the spring that goes all the way down to the aquifer, and it's truly a wonderful thing to see. I began looking for places that we could take shelter because, thunderstorms in Nebraska can be very, very bad. Anyway, as God would have it, the storm missed us on the Dismal River, but it really hit the kids on the Middle Loop in full force. And I had a wonderful time kayaking. When I got back, I realized that those kids north of us didn't have such a wonderful time. In fact, the storm was so bad that they actually had to pull over and march up the hills and lay under their canoes and kayaks because the rain and the hail was coming down so hard. But Ken told me later on that when they got back to the river, there had been so much rain that fell in the course of an hour that the river had risen about 5 inches in 1 hour. Just unbelievable. This river now began to increase. That is, that it existed in abundance. It had broken beyond its barriers. And that's what Paul describes of the love that we should have. Abound, though, is a second word, and it means to exceed a fixed number of or measure, to establish a new standard of excellence. I was watching football New Year's Eve night. I'll be honest with you, I was watching football a lot of those nights. But I can't remember what game I was watching, but you remember the stunt that the guy pulled after a football game one night where he was going to jump some body of water in Southern California? They kept advertising ESPN, and I don't get into that kind of stuff, but I did want to sit up and watch this because I thought it would be exciting because not that he would make it, but how exciting would it be if he crashed, right? I mean, it's not exciting when he jumps the body of water and then lands and then he gets out and shakes. I want to say, what's going to happen if this guy crashes? Well, the previous record of a water jump was 175 feet. Now, he decided to abound and increase that standard, and so he was attempting to jump 250 feet. Now, I mean, if you're going to break a record at 175 feet, make it 176. But he said, no, I just don't want to break the record. I want to shatter the record. And so he got in his car and he went, 5,000 miles an hour down this ramp and he jumped, and I was looking and he made it. And I was disappointed. I turned the TV off and went to bed. No, I didn't. I didn't do that. Man, I was hoping he'd crash. Well, that's not exciting that he makes it. But he gets out, and man, realizing that he had now just established a new standard of excellence, he dove off the pier and did a backflip and all that other. That's what Paul has here. That is that we are in our love, that it increases and abounds, that it pushes beyond the barriers, that it overflows its banks. It's like a body of water in a flood that becomes so voluminous that it breaks the dam and it flows out and it touches everything around it. I think that this type of love was best illustrated back in 2006. On October 2nd of that year, a shooter entered a one-room schoolhouse in Nickel Mines, Pennsylvania. And there he dismissed some of the girls. It was an all-girls school. It was in an Amish community. And there he shot, after he dismissed some of the girls, he shot 5 of the girls before turning the gun on himself. As news of this reached the outside world, we were shocked and horror. But what followed in the few days after the shooting surprised us even more. That is, that within hours, the Amish leaders banded together and they issued a blanket statement of forgiveness for the shooter. But it wasn't just in words, you see, for they had already been to the house of the shooter's widow, and there they had hugged her, they had embraced her, they told her that they forgave her husband, and they had brought her food and flowers, and they hugged her over and over. It talks about how many times the Amish community reached out and hugged this woman. And fearing for the woman's security, her financial well-being, the Amish immediately set up a fund to take care of her financial needs. The world looked on and wondered, how could they love that way? What is it about these people that makes them forgive so quickly? And they asked one of the women, why would you forgive? And we're so shocked. And one of the women responded, well, you shouldn't be surprised that we forgive. We didn't have to have a meeting to decide whether we were going to forgive this guy or not. We forgave because Christ forgave us. And that is our responsibility. It's funny, as they buried the shooter 5 or 6 days later, 75 people attended the graveside. Over half of the people who attended were Amish. some of whom had just buried their children the day before. Now, I can tell you that is big league love. That is NFL-style love. When you reach those levels of love, you have arrived spiritually. Can I tell you this, though, that I don't have that kind of love? You say, Pastor Steve, are you going to become Amish? No. I'm going to keep my phone and keep my car. You're not going to see me going down the road in a horse and buggy, okay? I'll keep my electricity. I don't mean to mock that. As I said, I'm just blown away by the love that they show. But can I tell you this? I need that kind of love in my life. We need that kind of love in our life. That is the kind of love that Paul described. That is a love that increases and abounds. We need to love like that. You say, Pastor Steve, you don't know my husband.